We continue our discussion of Titus with verse 15, which reads, "To the pure all things are pure, but to those who are defiled and unbelieving nothing is pure, but both their mind and their conscience are defiled." Now this is a classic Pauline saying, twisty and full of irony, and it sounds more complicated than it really is. We approach this verse logically, letting the context determine our interpretation, and we'll tackle this verse no differently. What Paul has done in this section is to show how the Judaizers are wrong in their teachings. This verse is not so much a pithy proverb as it is actually serving to reinforce the point he's been making all this time. Essentially, what Paul shows with this verse is that the Judaizers have a wrong understanding of how purity is attained. The apostolic teaching concerning purity or righteousness is that it is imputed to those who believe through Christ and his sacrifice. The Judaizers, however, are going to teach that purity is obtained through the keeping of Jewish law, through circumcision, and through the denial of unclean items as laid out in the Old Testament. Now, if we've read our Bibles up to this point, we know that the Judaizers' understanding of the Old Testament fundamentally misses its point, which was to anticipate and point toward Christ. This very important truth forms the basis of pretty much every interaction that Jesus has with the Pharisees in the Gospels, and provides the basis of Paul's statement here. So, in other words, to those who are pure through Christ's imputed righteousness, all things are pure. But to those who remain defiled, finding righteousness in their own actions and law-keeping rather than through Christ, all things remain defiled, as in the Old Testament. Again, we don't want to miss the irony of what Paul is saying here, which is that the very thing the Judaizers believe, that purity is attained through their own works rather than what they believe, is the thing that defiles them.